It all belongs to God. Jesus repeatedly taught this reality by using stories of imaginable first century life situations. These stewardship parables typically included a master and servants and some common elements that parallel your life experience. So let's take a look at 4 common features in the many stories that Jesus told. First of all, the master entrusts. In fact, in Luke 19, for example, we read, "A man of noble birth called 10 of his servants and gave them 10 minas." This well-off man wasn't handing out birds, folks. A mina was a unit of weight and a monetary measurement equal to about 4 months' wages. Imagine the happy dance that the servants must have done as they received thousands of dollars. Well, the same is true of us. Even though you and I may feel like we earn our income, develop our skills, expand our knowledge, the reality is that God entrusts those things to us. Your master has entrusted to you time and talent and resources. So you see, the master entrusts. But secondly, the master also expects. The things entrusted to you are not given without strings attached. In fact, that same story in Luke 19 continued with these instructions. He said, "Put this money to work until I come back." The master expected the servant to use what had been entrusted in a manner consistent with his desires. The master expected that the gift would be multiplied. God entrusts time and talent and abilities and resources to you and me with the expectation that we will invest it in His priorities. We need to put all of who we are and what we possess to work for the progress of the gospel, in seeing people come to faith, nurtured in faith, multiplying their faith. So the master entrusts, the master expects, and then thirdly, the master returns. He comes back in each one of those stewardship stories. Matthew 25 puts it like this: "After a long time, the master of those servants returned." In some instances, the servants were ready for his return. Others didn't want him to return, and still others didn't live as if his return would really ever happen. You and I can fall into that same kind of mindset. Even though He's entrusted to us time and talents and resources, and even though He's given us expectations, we can still live life as if it's ours to use however we want. We can live as if the return of Jesus is just a Sunday school thought that's far removed from the reality of our daily living. But folks, it's true. One day, the one who entrusted, the one who expects, He will return. And then finally, we notice here that the master rewards. In each of the stories, the master calls in the servants in order to find out what they did with the money. To some of them, He gives more and He says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Those who failed to do so heard things like, "You wicked, lazy slave." In other words, there's accountability. You see, all of those truths remind us of this reality. It all belongs to God. When we recognize that He entrusts, He expects, He returns, He rewards, it's then that we begin to use our time, our talents, our resources in such a way that it's multiplied for His glory. How does that impact your use of time? Does work or sports or Facebook or Netflix, do those kinds of things get too much of your time? How does that affect your use of your talents? Can you say that your unique abilities and gifts are being used in a way that the Master will be pleased? Does something need to change in your use of your resources? Is a significant portion of your money, for example, being used for your own preferences or for God's priorities? You see, it all belongs to God. And one day He'll return and there will be accountability. It's my hope that you'll hear, "Well done, my good and faithful servant."